Hey everyone, welcome back to SP Vids, the number one place to learn about how to use this box right here, the SP404sx and the SP404A as well, because they're both basically the same, right? So apologies, this week the drops haven't been there at all so far, and as you can probably tell from my voice, not been feeling too great, so just about feeling better now so I can get a video out for you guys. I hope you've all had a good Easter, etc, and thanks to everyone that's subscribed over the past couple of weeks. Just smashed through 2k subs, which is amazing, and now we're already almost on to 2,100, so the subs keep coming, it's amazing, and the content's going to keep coming so long as I'm in good health. So yeah, massive thanks to all the support, thanks for all the comments, the likes, and the subscriptions. It's really cool to see the channel growing, guys, so thanks very much. In this video today, I want to talk about how I approach live performances with the SP404sx. Now, I've had quite a few questions about this recently, so I really want to get to more of the theory side of how this works as a DJing tool rather than kind of transitional effects and that kind of thing. I'm actually going to do a separate video for that one, so what I'm just going to talk about in this video is how I set up my set, how I put songs onto this box, and kind of how I'll go through playing a set, but I'm not going to talk about transitions and that kind of thing. So the first thing to note is the SP404sx and onwards is basically renowned for its insane length of sample time that it allows on each pad. Normally in the past, samplers don't allow this kind of time on each pad. It's basically, it might as well be unlimited on the SP404sx. You get 32 gigs of data, and if you've ever saved or backed up everything on your SP and looked on your computer at about how much space it takes up, it's basically nothing. So that's the reason it's become such a beast for performing live, is because you can basically have a full track on each pad. So that's the approach that you want to be thinking about if you do want to use this for live, is you're going to have finished beats on each of the pads and as many banks as you want, basically, as long as the set needs to be. So this is the setup I've got here. Now these are the songs that I DJ'd at the last show that I did. And I think there's more on this pad as well, but you get the on this bank as well. So what I tend to do is you can get as organized as you want with this, but I think what it's best to do is choose a structure for each of the banks and stick with that for your whole sort of DJ career. Because one of the main problems you'll have when you get to your live performance is you won't remember exactly what is on what pad, but you want to kind of know loosely what's going to happen when you press one, because it's going to be a bit of a surprise. Memorizing a whole set, you could do that if you want to. I've never done that because I always end up spending too much time trying to put the set together. It'll be like it's always a last minute thing. And I'll be rushing to get tracks onto the SP and think, by the time I get to the venue to perform the gig, even some of the songs are a surprise to me because I've forgotten I even put them on there. So think about a structure that you are happy with on your bank. For example, I've got the top 8, they're all tracks, full tracks, right? And then the bottom 4 I've got are interludes. So these are things that I use to go from one track to the other.
Who are you? Who are you?
Nobody's gonna hurt anybody. We're all gonna be like 3.
And there was times I got up early in the morning, like 9 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, that number 12 there's a bit of an anomaly because it's kind of it was something I wanted to end the whole set on, so I just popped that there so I knew it was the last pad that I wanted to play. A little thing from an Earl Sweatshirt album, which I really like. So as you can see, the other 3 though are all like sort of film vocal samples, and the beauty of knowing that this bottom row is just going to be one specific thing is that you know when you press it you're not going to be in for a surprise. So one of the most difficult things I think performing live with the SP is that you don't know how long the sample is on the pad, right? You don't know how long the track is that you're playing. You could get really anal about this and write I was thinking you could write a sort of diagram of the pads and the banks and write the lengths of each one on there, but then you'd have to time yourself as well at the same time, so it's not really an option, to be honest. The only way I can think that you could get around this is to make each pad or each song beat that you've got on each pad is to make that something that's a seamless loop. So it could be 2 minutes long, but at some point it seamlessly loops back to the start. That way the pad's never going to just end and you're never going to be left with like a silence. So that's happened to me before during a set. I've been playing and the song's just ended and I haven't been expecting it, and I've had to quickly pretend it was part of the set when it's not. So that's something you've really got to look out for, and I think that's the best solution what I've come up with. So you're going to have to use Ableton or another DAW, digital audio workstation, to make a track and make it at some point that it loops seamlessly. So when you put it on your SP, you know it's just going to play through no matter what, and you can choose when to end it whenever you want. The one problem you will have with that is that you don't know how long the track's been going for, and if you're anything like me, I always end them way too quickly. So I think they've been going a lot longer than they have been going for, and it's not the case. Sometimes I've only been playing a track for 40, 50 seconds and I flip to the next one, and before I know it I'm getting towards the end of the set and I've not filled the time. So the solution I came up for on this set was I just faded out every song on each pad, so that when I heard that fade coming I knew it was time to flip to something else. I mean, I could get a bit repetitive I guess, but I think the majority of the audience don't really notice those kind of things. They're not beat makers themselves. They're just people that enjoy listening to your set. So take that into account when you're making your set. Just a little fade out at the end is a cue for you to know when to flip to the next track. And also it just means your set's a bit more polished because you know what's going to happen when. So what I will do if to start a set or just to be playing a beat in the set is I'll hit the pad and then I'll press hold. And that will keep the track going, and then I'm free with both hands to play with the effects. So one thing that does happen quite a lot when you're performing live is you'll start a beat and then you might hit a little voice sample like that just to fill in the song and make it sound a bit more interesting. Now you have to be careful then, because once you go to use an effect, it's going to apply the effect to the last pad you've used, so it won't be the beat anymore on pad 1, it will be one of the vocal samples. So the thing I do to check which pad the SP is going to apply the effects to is to hit the remain button. So watch this now. And could you see there how they were flashing? That one was obviously lit because it was playing, but the one that it's actually going to apply the effect to is flashing. So what you have to do quite a lot when you're performing live is have the song going and you'll have to hit remain and hit the pad that's playing. Now this is really scary because it almost feels like you're going to stop the pad. So try and give this a little bit of a practice before you go and perform live. You're going to have a track going. Okay, so I hope that demonstration showed there that I always kind of hit remain and hit the pad twice because it seems to be the way to get it on. I don't know if that's a requirement, but that's what I do to definitely ensure that remain is highlighting the beat that you want to add the effects to. So as I've got the hold button on, obviously I can do all the normal effects, and if you need tutorials on how to use the effects on the SP, like check out all the stuff on my channel, the master series and all the other tutorials. It'll just be the standard effects that I always use on the SP for beats as well. Isolator, DJ effects. These are the ones you'll find that you use the most, the ones at the top, because they're the easiest to get to. You don't really want to be pressing MFX and having to select one of the MFX and then play with the parameters before you've even been able to put it on, because remember you're playing live here, so you want it to just be ready. And one thing that I should note is another video that I've done where you can audition all of these so you know exactly what's going to happen when you press them. I'll put a link to that at the top right of the video, because that's really important. You want to know what effect is going to apply and you want to make sure that it's the right sound. You don't want it coming in, so for example with filter, and it's sounding like this. You want to have that ready on all these three down like this. So I hope that makes sense as well. You need to get those effects ready at the right settings. You don't want to mess that up during your set. So I think that's basically everything you need to know to perform a live set from the SP. I would also highly recommend that you take your own headphones with you and have them plugged into your SP, because when you're on stage it can be quite difficult to hear what you're actually performing, especially when it comes to the effects, and they're quite subtle. So decent pair of headphones, like I've got the ATH M50Xs by Audio-Technica. They're a really decent monitor headphone, and they provide a lot of noise cancellation when you're playing live, which you really, really need, because there's going to be all the crowd and all the speakers are pumping out your beats. So you need to be able to cut all that out and just listen through the headphones. Aside from that, a couple of tips for just generally being there is make sure you get there nice and early, get set up, because 9 times out of 10 there will be something that's not quite right and you need time to fix it. If you turn up right on the dot and there's something broken or doesn't work, you haven't got time to rush back home or rush to a store and pick something up like batteries or cables or things like that. So always bear that in mind. One final thing is also just make sure you choose the right music for the right mood. So usually I make slower lo-fi hip-hop, as you could probably tell from my latest EP, but that's not really the kind of music that the venue I was playing at wanted. So what I had to come up with is a much more upbeat set and something that was going to get the crowd going before the main acts were on. So that's why the choices in this setup that I've got here are quite upbeat and sort of 90s kind of golden era hip-hop style. Okay, before I finish the video, there was one thing I forgot to mention, and that's how to get the songs onto your SP. So I use the software that's available on the Roland website. I'll pop a link to it below the video. Basically, it just means you can drop the WAV file straight onto the SD card and then plug it into your device. If you record into the SP for long periods of time, what you'll notice is occasionally you'll get little jutters and stutters and stuff like that. It's just something to do with the fact that this is such a basic box. It's not designed for long, sort of 3 to 5 minute recordings. I've had a lot of problems with that in the past. I've got to a set and realised a lot of my tracks have got little jumps in them because I've recorded straight into the box. So do yourself a favour with that one, get your tracks ready and record them in a DAW, bounce them out of the DAW to WAV, and then use the Roland software to put them onto the SP. So yeah, the main takeaways really, I think, are get your bank structured in a way which you know what's going to happen, even if you're not sure exactly the sample that's going to play or the beat that's going to play. I think that's a really crucial tip, that one, because in the atmosphere of playing live and that kind of thing, you do forget which songs are on which pads, which samples are on which pads. So that's a really key tip. Decent headphones, I think that's a really, really big tip. And in terms of transitions, effects and all that, don't overdo it. Make sure they kind of sound part of the song. Keep it subtle, keep it nice, and keep the flow of the set going. Don't disrupt the flow of the set too much. And most of all, just enjoy it and have fun, guys. I mean, that's what it's mainly about, performing live, and that's what you want to get across when you're performing. Okay, everyone, that's it for today. I hope this helps you out. I hope this gives you more of an understanding of how this box is used to perform live sets. If you have any questions, as usual, just leave a comment below and I'll answer them. If it's about live or if it's anything about the SP, just leave a comment below and I'll make sure I'll reply to you. So take it easy, guys, look after yourselves and keep making beats, and I will be back very soon with more SP content. Peace.